There we go. We need to make sure we've got this recorded. This information is meant for your education only and is not meant to diagnose or prescribe. You are responsible for any results, good or bad, that result from using this information. Your health is your choice, and you can do with it as you see fit. If you are a wellness practitioner and you are wanting to learn iridology, again, please understand that we never use the eyes to diagnose or prescribe. Welcome. Again, take a moment to introduce yourself. I would love to know where you're from. And I would love to know also if you have any iridology background. I will tell you that the more you play with me in my sandbox, the more you interact with me, the more you're going to get out of me. Your comments really fuel my energy and make me want to give more. So please let me know where you're from and do you have iridology background? Take that moment to introduce yourself. Again, today we are going to have a very small group. We always do. Iridology is a very niche thing. It's not like a weight loss webinar where half the universe needs to be on it. This is a very niche webinar. And so we will have a very small group, and it is very important to me that you interact with me. My name is Judith Cobb, and I'm so glad you're with me. And I appreciate those of you who are making comments to introduce yourselves. This is brilliant and wonderful in every way. I have been in the holistic health world since 1979. That is when I started formally studying iridology, herbology, nutrition, all of these wonderful sciences that are leading the forefront in holistic health right now. I began my holistic health business in 1981, and I've earned many credentials in those years. I'm a master herbalist, a natural nutrition clinical practitioner, and a certified comprehensive iridologist and certified comprehensive iridology level 3 instructor. We'll talk more about that in a moment. I am the wife of 1, the mom of 7, the grandma of almost 10. We'll have our 10th grandbaby this year. And as we're going through today, I'm going to keep an eye on the comments and on the questions so that I can try to address any comments and questions you have for me. Way back when I started learning iridology, we did not have everything we've got now. First off, we didn't have the internet. We couldn't have a webinar like this to bring in people from all over the world. I mean, we've got someone online with us right now from Texas, so the deep south of the US. We've got far eastern side of Canada from New Brunswick, right? We've got somebody from Wisconsin. We've got people from all over. Sometimes we get people from Europe and from South America and from even Africa and Australia. So worldwide, this is exciting, but we didn't have this 40 years ago. And the iridology that I learned originally is still out there, but it has been proven to be incorrect. It has not kept up with the research. And so about 30 years ago, I practiced that first style of iridology for about 10 years, and I was getting frustrated with it. It wasn't doing what I was told it was supposed to do. I wasn't seeing what I was told I should be seeing as people engaged in programs and cleanses and supplements and lifestyle changes. And so I decided to leave iridology. And just before I left, I had the opportunity to learn the style of iridology that I'm going to introduce you to today. It made all the difference. It worked the way I was told it would work. It made sense. It helped me to be more effective in my clinical work and get better results for my clients. It was everything I ever wanted in an assessment tool. And so, one of the things that we learned was that we could not change pigments in the eyes. Originally, I learned that I could take someone whose eyes were a blend of colors, and if we did the right cleanses and fasts with them, we could turn those brown eyes blue, but it never worked. And so Again, when I jumped ship and I started to learn this new style of iridology, I got really, really excited. We've got someone with us from Florida. This is exciting to me. As we do this today, I want you to begin to see, for those of you who are already health professionals, I want you to begin to see how what you're going to learn today can actually help you create faster assessments with your clients, be more accurate in your understanding of your client and your program creation, how it can help you to develop better and faster rapport with your clients, and how it eliminates the need for an intake form. Now, when I say an intake form, I don't mean a release form or an informed consent form. We still always use those. We need to use those. We need to make sure our clients understand that if we are not licensed medical doctors, that we are not licensed medical doctors, right? So we always have our clients sign an informed consent form or a release form or a waiver, whatever you want to call it. But I no longer use a questionnaire with my clients. When my clients first come in, I ask them, what would you like my help with? And then from there, I shoot their eye photos. I look at their eyes, and I use the eyes combined with their symptoms to guide the rest of the questions and the rest of the session with my client. So we are going to look at how that works. And this again is a little bit more of my background, that I am a level 3 certified iridologist and a level 3 certified instructor. Now, level 3 is really important. And the reason I say that is that level 3 is a new level. The International Iridology Practitioners Association had level 1 and level 2 for a long time. And to be an instructor, you had to be level 2 and had to pass the instructor protocol. You had to go through a rigorous training program. Last summer, they introduced level 3, a much more advanced level. There are only 5 certified level 3 instructors in the world to date, and I am one of them. In all my years in being in this industry, and again, it's over 4 decades now, which boggles my mind. It's like 2/3 of my life. You do the math. As I got into natural healing and was interested in it for myself and began doing research and began studying, I wrote books and I created courses. All of my books were self-distributed. They are now all out of print, except for one of them, and I need to get in there, find the time to go in and rework them and update them. We did Pregnancy Naturally, the Herbal Birth Kit Handbook, Healthy Kids Naturally, the Essential Guide to Nature Sunshine Products, Biokinesiology and Color Therapy Level 1 and 2. And the only book that is still available is the Confident Nutritionist Dynamic Iridology textbook. And it is only available to my dynamic iridology students. I've also created courses. I created Herbology Level 1, which was 20 hours of practical application of how do you use herbs that you buy already prepared from a health food store. Level 2 was when you're looking at a formula that's already made at the health food store, how do you know what you can use it for? Because every formula can be used for more than one thing, but it's only ever marketed for one thing, right? Designed and taught Biokinesiology and Color Therapy Level 1 and 2. You might know Biokinesiology under its other name, which is muscle testing. Also, for a few years, I was a certified prenatal educator with the International Childbirth Education Association from the US. Loved doing that prenatal work, pregnancy work, fertility work. That still is a strong passion of mine. And that's what a lot of my clinical work focuses around, is female health, fertility, pregnancy, difficult pregnancies, things like that. And of course, I'm currently teaching the Dynamic Iridology Assessment System, which is the IPA approved curriculum for level 1 and level 2 to become a certified iridologist. Right. And this fall, I will also be teaching my first go around of the level 3 program. So I'm excited to be offering that to my previous students and grads and anyone who is already an IPA certified iridologist. So stay with me till the end of today's workshop, and I will give you a little more information about the Dynamic Iridology Assessment System. And we'll talk a tiny bit about it. The next course is starting in August. I am also a professional member of the Canadian Association of Holistic Nutrition Professionals and the Canadian Association of Natural Nutritional Practitioners, and a professional member of the Alberta Herbalists Association. And those are all really important to me because when I'm using iridology, I am using it to draw in whatever modalities, whatever skills I already have to choose what would be the best approach for my client. So I've also got training in aromatherapy and in flower essences. And, you know, with over 60 years of life experience, I've got a little bit of background with that as well. And so I can use iridology to choose what the best approaches for each client would be. So nobody leaves my office with a cookie cutter program. And yet each program takes me less than 95 or 90 minutes to create while I'm with my client. So let's start learning some iridology. You ready to look at some eyes? If you want to look at some eyes and start learning some iridology, give me a yes in the comments box. Yes, Zara, thank you. I love that. All caps and an exclamation point. And that was a shout. Yes, wonderful. Okay, this is great. And I know some of you have a little bit of experience with iridology. Some of you are brand new to this. So we are going to start with foundation here. Again, if you've got questions as we're going, please type them into the chat box and I will make sure I'll do my best to answer them if it's appropriate to answer them in this setting. When we look at eyes and when we are using constitutional iridology, which is very different from most of what you're going to see on social media, we don't rely on mapping. So many times you will see iridologists who are trained in other styles relying heavily on mapping. And what they're doing is they're saying one marking equals one sign, or sorry, one marking equals one problem. And that is so incomplete. It is so surface level, so shallow that with constitutional iridology, we are always looking for how do these markings connect? What do these markings tell us about our client's symptoms or about their genetic potentials? Okay, so we're always looking for the depth here to get a really good understanding so we know how to approach things. Mapping, when we're doing a constitutional analysis, is the very last step, if we even get that far. Okay. We don't want to dissect the person unless we've got a good reason to. And so this, for example, is an excellent example of a lymphatic iris. Now, you would call it a blue eye. Lymphatic irides always have some blue. We can always see the fiber structure, at least in parts of the eye. In this eye, we can see pretty much all of it. But we might also have other colors in the eye. Now you can see there's a little teeny bit of some other color spots here. Sometimes we'll see quite a bit of other color, but there will always be some blue. Now this is information you can use with your very next client. So I hope you're taking notes here. Common health concerns of the lymphatic type center around their mucous membranes and their acid levels and their lymphatic system. That doesn't mean they can't have other problems in other areas, but those are the key points that we almost always will see an increased risk of with blue-eyed people. So when we are working with a lymphatic iris, a lymphatic constitution, we want to be asking questions. Iridology teaches us what questions to ask. All right, it doesn't necessarily give us the answers, but it teaches us what questions to ask to get the information we need to get. Does that make sense? We're not going to diagnose, but we are going to use the eyes to assess and to guide our questions and then to guide the recommendations we are going to make. And so questions that we want to ask always start with, is there a personal or family history of? Right? Because remember, what we see in the irides is genetic, and it goes back 3 to 4 generations. So we might be seeing a marking, and this person may or may not have problems in those areas. But when we ask, is there a personal or family history of an issue with this particular organ, our client will think back, and if they know of issues, they're going to share them with us. And as we understand what that family history is and correlate it to what we're seeing in the eyes, it helps us to understand why our client is having the symptoms they're having. Now, it may be that this is actually the first generation of this, not usually. It usually goes back at least a couple. So common symptoms we see when we are considering mucous membranes, acid levels throughout the body, and lymphatic system issues would circle around issues, symptoms like asthma, allergies, arthritis, eczema or eczema, psoriasis, kidney issues. Now, when you understand each of those situations, what you know is they are actually the same chemistry showing up in different body tissues. Okay, so they are just different versions of the very same metabolic story. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, give me a makes sense in the comments box. Makes sense? Thank you, Lily. Appreciate that. Thank you, Julie. That's amazing. Absolutely fabulous. So the next time you see someone who's got blue eyes, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's yourself, you can ask the question, is there a personal or family history of asthma, allergies, arthritis, eczema, psoriasis, we put those into skin, and kidney issues. We like to abbreviate that in my class as ASK, A-A-A-S-K, asthma, allergies, arthritis, skin, and kidneys, because that is all teaching us about this person's acid levels and how their body clears acid. All right. Here's another great example of a lymphatic iris. As we look at this iris, notice that we've got kind of a dark gray, steely blue in here. It's not that pure, clear blue we saw in the previous image, but it is still a blue. It's definitely not brown, and it's not anything else. And genetically, we've got blue, brown, and mixed, or biliary is what we prefer to call it. This is not biliary because we've got an abundance of blue, of a shade of blue, and we've got lots of fiber. Now we do have some other colors here. These other colors give us a lot more information. The actual color tells us what organ wants to be messing with things. The placement of this pigment tells us which organs are going to suffer because of it. Okay, and so when we see this kind of pigment, and it doesn't matter if it's something like this big dark freckle, or these little clouds of color, or this kind of a centralized color, the actual color tells us which organ wants to be out of balance, and the placement tells us which organ will suffer for it. That is it in a nutshell. And in the dynamic iridology course, we actually learn what each of the colors means. And we do learn where the organ placements are so that we can understand our pigment a lot deeper and know what questions to ask. So this again is a beautiful example of a lymphatic iris. Do you think you've got a lymphatic iris? If you think you've got a lymphatic iris, so there's at least some blue in your eyes, I want to see the word lymphatic in the comments box. If you think you have, or if you know you have a lymphatic iris. Yeah, Rena has a lymphatic iris. Way to go, Rena. Thanks for putting that in. And Adam does too. Excellent. Okay. Brilliant. Anybody else want to say they've got a lymphatic iris? While you're typing that in, these people that are lymphatic, have that lymphatic constitution, may be a little more prone to thyroid issues. Even though there may not be any thyroid markers in the iris. And the reason this is because the thyroid, parathyroid need minerals balanced really delicately. And if we don't have the right acid levels, we may not be able to assimilate the minerals well. And so the thyroid, parathyroid imbalance would be tracing back to acid imbalances that are messing with mineral assimilation. So when we have someone who has a lymphatic iris, we may want to ask them if they're aware of any types of hormonal imbalances, right? Or they may come in with obvious indicators of hormonal imbalances, and we look at their eyes, they are lymphatic. We can start asking questions about their acid levels. And we're not talking necessarily stomach acid. We are talking the acid level of their blood, of their saliva, of the interstitial fluid. And there are ways for us to understand what's going on there. Again, when we're looking at thyroid and parathyroid, you know that a key role for those organs, those glands, is to balance our calcium levels especially, right? And so maybe our questions need to circle around bone health. Has this person ever been assessed with osteopenia or osteoporosis, right? And there are many other questions that we can use to circle around bone health, that circle around calcium and magnesium, and we can pick and choose those questions based on the individual. Our goal here isn't to use iridology as some sort of a crystal ball. And that's the part that gets me the most frustrated, is when I see people posting images of irides on social media, and iridologists are weighing in, and they are assessing the eye as if it were a crystal ball. This is not a party game. It's not a guess what's wrong with me game. This is about understanding the person's constitution so that we can understand where they are less resilient, where they are more resilient, so we can understand why their health is the way it is, so that we can guide them to better health. But it always takes a conversation. A photograph is not enough. The photograph doesn't tell us what this person is already doing for their health. It doesn't tell us what their symptoms are, or their age, or their gender. It doesn't tell us what the family history is. And in order to do a really well-balanced iris analysis, we need that information. We need that information because if we don't have it, we're working at a surface level. And we might mitigate symptoms, but we're not helping to get to the root cause to really rebalance the way the body works to maximize this person's health. Now, along the way, we might need to mitigate symptoms to make our client be a little more comfortable while we're working at that deeper level. But we really are looking to get deep to understand this person's chemistry so that we can help them rebalance their health and achieve their health goals. Does that sound like what you would want to do in a consultation, that you would want to help your client go deep? Julie is saying yes. Yeah. And yes, definitely. And yes, from Rena and Zara. Brilliant. So as we talk about that little bit of lymphatic, that is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more we could talk about that. But I want you to just see, even from that high level, how constitutional iridology can help you go deeper, be more effective, and really create programs that could be helpful. Because if you understand what your client's symptoms are, why they have them, and what the root cause is, then you can go into your toolbox and use whatever modalities you have: nutrition, herbology, flower essences, aromatherapy, body talk, EFT. You might have other skills under your belt that I don't even know exist, and you can dig deeper. This is what one of my grads said about the course, and then we're going to look at some more eyes. This is Sharon Bimrose. She's a naturopath in Australia. She says, I'd already taken iridology as a part of my studies as a naturopath. However, due to this course, Confident Nutritionist Dynamic Iridology, which we've changed the name to Dynamic Iridology Assessment System, surpassed my previous training in structure, content, delivery, documentation, and support. Iridology has certainly reduced the time required for prioritizing a treatment plan. Iridology, without a doubt, has been a huge game changer to my practice. So she already had iridology, wasn't using it very effectively, did not have confidence, came into my course, and we changed that for her. Love it, love it, love it. Let's look at our next eye type. Our next eye type is hematogenic. You would call this a brown eye. Now, what you want to know, and for those of you who are with me on Instagram, I'm going to move my camera closer to try to reduce a bit of the glare. When we are looking at a brown eye, you may see gold in it, but what you won't see is fibers. Remember, in the blue eye and the lymphatic eye, we could see all of these threads. In a true hematogenic eye, we will not see the threads. So we're not going to see the fiber structure. We're not going to see blue or green. And what this is telling us with this brown eye that has a few golden highlights, some brown eyes won't have golden highlights. What this is going to tell us is that for this person, the key areas that we want to be really paying attention to are blood and liver. Most of their symptoms are going to tie back to the liver and whether it's functioning well or not on all of its levels, and blood formation. So questions we want to ask will circle around that. Now, most of your clients won't have a clue what their liver does, right? They'll say it detoxifies. Congratulations, that is one job out of 500. This is why it is so important for you as an iridology student to have a good, an excellent anatomy and physiology course under your belt. And Michelle Sternello on Facebook is saying anabolic processes dominate. Absolutely, absolutely. The anabolic processes do dominate with them. And so as we are looking at this person's eye, again, we may need to educate them a little bit about their liver. We might need to find a better way to ask the questions. Because if we ask them, is there a personal or family history of any liver issues? Most people will say no, because they don't know. So you might need to ask them, have you ever been anemic? We think of that as blood, but the liver stores iron. We might ask if it's a woman about hot flashes, PMS. Those are mitigated by the liver. We might ask about immune function. We might ask, how well do you repair after an injury? Do cuts take too long to heal? We might ask about anger issues. We might ask about fats. When they eat fats, does it make them feel nauseous? Have they learned to avoid fats? Are there any foods they've learned to avoid? That'll give us a clue as to whether liver could be a part of the issue here. And so we need to understand many of the jobs that the liver does in order to ask questions that are specific to those functions so that we can get the information we need from our client. Do you see how understanding the eyes and then understanding the anatomy can help you to ask better questions? If you do, give me a question mark in the comments box. Yeah, Julie and Zara, excellent. And Rena, excellent. Thank you for that. Really appreciate it. Let's look at another hematogenic eye. Look at how different this eye is from the previous one. Here we have no major openings in the eye. It's a fairly even fiber structure, even though we can't see the individual threads. Here we have lots of openness in the structure of this eye. So again, people with the hematogenic eye are more prone to liver and blood issues. Now let's talk about what that could actually mean. It could mean spleen. There might be some questions about the spleen. Again, you need to know your anatomy and physiology. Spleen and liver do a lot of similar things. And actually, if you have your spleen removed, your liver will take over for the spleen. Okay. When we're talking about liver, that affects digestion. When we talk about circulation or blood, we could be talking about heart and circulation. We might be talking about varicose veins. We might be talking about pH. Our brown-eyed friends tend to have a slightly more alkaline level, and that can also mess with how well they assimilate minerals. They might be having issues with their mineral balance because they might not have enough acid to actually absorb to process their minerals properly. And if they don't have the minerals, we might see endocrine and metabolic imbalances because minerals are critical there. So depending on what symptoms or imbalances your client wants help with, the questions you ask might that are based on iridology could include things like this. Is there a personal or family history of blood imbalances, of allergies, because that goes back through the liver, of immune issues, because 10% of the liver's mass is dedicated to the immune response, to hormonal issues, because the liver makes cholesterol and then breaks down the hormones. Cholesterol is the building block for hormones, then the liver has to break down the hormones when they're finished doing their job. Is there a personal or family history of lipid imbalances, including cholesterol and triglycerides? Do we have weight issues due to liver imbalances? Right? And so again, when you understand the anatomy of the body and the physiology, and you understand the predispositions that a particular iris type is more prone to, you can start connecting the dots between those two pieces of information to ask the right questions. Now, you wouldn't ask all of those questions. That would be overkill. You would choose the questions that relate to your client's symptoms, right? If you already know that someone has hematogenic eyes, or if you've got, let's do it this way, if you know you've got hematogenic eyes, give me brown is beautiful in the chat. Okay, I want to know if you've got hematogenic eyes. Do you have beautiful brown eyes? And if you do, give me a brown is beautiful in the comments there. I know that takes a little longer to type in, doesn't it? So while you're typing that in, oh, we do, Zara, yes, we've got one brown-eyed beauty. Thank you for that, Zara, appreciate that. Again, this is just the tip of the iceberg, just the tip. This is a part of what you'd be learning, or what you will be learning in module 2 of the Dynamic Iridology Assessment System course. This is another one of my students. This is Michelle Davies. She came to me well qualified. She says, I've studied iridology with David Pesic, and she had his level 1, 2, and 3 certificates, as well as with Darko Purse. But then she said about dynamic iridology, this is the most amazing iridology course I've taken. Judith's course is top on my list. Judith's iridology course is very complete as it contains the most accurate iridology, including sclerology, and most importantly, how to put it all together and make a proper assessment. I feel very confident in my nutritional practice now. And she is a certified natural practitioner, as well as a registered nutritional consultant and a master herbalist. And she's got a lot of training. And again, she started with some iridology and found a lot of benefit by doing the Dynamic Iridology Assessment System course. All right, our third eye type, our third constitution. This is a biliary iris. Now, you may be looking at that and going, looks like a brown eye to me. right? Here is what we need to know. First off, a Jensenian iridologist would look at this eye and would say, man, are you ever toxic? You need to do some serious cleansing. Constitutional iridology does not agree with that. And so as we look at the biliary eye type, we'll get in that word biliary for our Instagram friends, there we go. When we look at this eye, it has no blue in its structure, but can you see that we can actually see fibers in here? If you can see fibers, give me the word fiber in the comments box. Can you see fibers in there? Fibers, fibers. Yes, thank you. Excellent, amazing. So it is believed that biliary people are the offspring of a hematogenic and a lymphatic parent. And as such, this person doesn't have the density of pigment that a hematogenic does. And it allows a little bit of the fiber to show through, but the fiber won't be blue. If the fiber was blue, we would go lymphatic with a lot of other pigment. Because this fiber is gold or green, and we see no blue, so there's no blue, but there is fiber, that means this is a biliary constitution. Now, what we may see is that in these creases, they might look golden. We often see that there's a slightly darker area around the pupil. And when we see this, what does the name biliary make you think of? Again, if you've got your anatomy under your belt, what organ is likely behind the word biliary? What do you think? Rena, brilliant. Yeah, liver. Absolutely. Absolutely. So for these people, liver is our main focus. Our main focus, right? And so our questions are again going to primarily circle around the liver. So again, a tendency towards anemia or blood issues, problems digesting fats, problems repairing tissues, maybe some immune issues, maybe some weight issues because they're not processing carbs properly. We could have many different things that could be indications of a liver imbalance, but these people are more prone to the liver running the show. All right, so as we look at this again, here's another beautiful biliary eye. And again, what we've got is as we look carefully, we can see little bits of fiber poking through. Little bits, lots of darker pigment. We've got that darker center area. We have absolutely no blue in the iris body itself, but we do have fiber. So this is a great example of a biliary eye. Again, when we have the biliary type, we often see digestive concerns, and particularly more towards the stomach itself. We might see liver concerns. We would want to ask questions about that. And that would again include immune function, lipid balance, blood sugars, triglycerides, allergies. We might see more gallbladder issues with this kind of person, with this constitution. And often there will be gallstone formation, a history of gallstones. We might see pancreas as well with this type of person. The pancreas and the liver are often in cahoots. Right? We talked about liver and spleen, but also liver and pancreas. So we may want to be asking about blood sugar balance, about energy patterns through the day, about food cravings. And so again, we want to ask the question first, what would you like my help with? And then from there, we look at the eyes to ascertain what do we see in the eyes that gives us more information about the client's symptoms and problems. And then we are able to ask laser-focused questions. Here's the beautiful thing about asking those laser-focused questions instead of using a questionnaire. A questionnaire, every client knows, every client gets the same questionnaire. And the questionnaire asks everybody the same questions, 90% of which are totally irrelevant to the individual client, right? I feel when I have to fill a questionnaire in, I always feel like, are you actually going to read this? And it's pretty obvious from some of the questions that the health professionals are asking once I'm into the appointment that they didn't read it at all, right? That it's just what they do. They just have the questionnaire and you sign off, releasing them from all responsibility, and they're going to start from scratch anyways, right? When you do it this way, the way I'm teaching you, ask them what their concerns are, look at their eyes, match what you see in the eyes to their concerns, and ask questions that are directly focused on them. How do you think it makes your client feel? I want to see your answers in the comments. How do you think that would make you feel if someone didn't give you a questionnaire, but they asked you what you wanted help with, then they looked at your eyes, and then they asked questions about you? Shona says, like they can trust you. Brilliant. Yeah. Paying attention to be more focused. Yeah, Rena, absolutely. Absolutely. Anyone else want to weigh in on this? That you are sincerely interested in looking at me as an individual? Absolutely. Absolutely. If anyone else is typing in, I will read your comments as well in just a moment. I've got clients who have been with me for nearly the full 4 decades that I've been in business. And I can do their appointment comfortably in 15 minutes. They still book a full hour with me. And when I ask them, why do you want to pay for an hour when you could pay for only 15 minutes? And they say, because you're the only one who listens. I feel like you hear me when I'm speaking, right? And a lot of that is because of the iridology. A lot of it is. And so this is brilliant. I mean, when people know that you are sincerely interested and that you are digging down deep with them as an individual, it does develop rapport. It does develop trust. All right. So do you think you've got a biliary iris? Do you think you've got a biliary iris? If you do, give me biliary. Julie has a biliary. Yes. Julie, way to go. Good job. This is often a hard one to assess because so many people want to put it into the brown-eyed category. So Julie, well done. Well done. You get a gold star today. Leah says she has biliary. Yes, Leah, thank you for that. Amazing. Now you've just learned a little bit about yourself and probably about other family members, maybe about some of your clients. This is what Karen Choate, who's also one of my course grads, said. And this is about 4 years ago now. And of course, because it's a screenshot of something she sent me, I haven't edited it. Judith, I just returned from a regenerative detoxification course where iridology is implemented. I spread the word about what a wonderful teacher you are. Most people I talked with did not have anywhere near the same experience with their iridology education. They had no support, unanswered questions, and a lot of confusion. Mostly they finished their classes not knowing how to implement what they had learned. I feel so absolutely blessed to have been taught by you. I feel totally supported even still as I have graduated almost 4 years ago now. And I'll tell you why that 4 years is important in a moment. I don't think there's anyone out there practicing, educating, or teaching iridology like you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm eternally grateful for your never-ending patience and support. All right, so why I bring up the 4 years and why that's important is because my course is not a do the course and kick you out program. It's you do the course and we continue to have 2 one-hour group mentoring sessions every month for all of my students and graduates. Anyone who has done my course is welcome to come to the mentoring sessions forever, for as long as I'm teaching. So that's why, 4 years after her course, Karen still comes back to the mentoring sessions periodically when she's got a tough case or has a question. I asked her then, how has learning constitutional iridology helped you in your business? This is really important, right? No sense in learning a modality if it's not going to progress your business. She says, iridology has helped me to understand the relationships between different organs and organ systems more in depth. Iridology also gives me an advantage of seeing the potential for different genetic traits and qualities that may be underlying. By observing the constitution, for example, you can extrapolate how the person's body will likely respond to applications of healing methods. Therefore, it has helped me to expand my knowledge and increased efficiency at providing more precise recommendations for health-oriented options. Excellent. So I'm going to take a moment to introduce the Dynamic Iridology course to you. I need to update this slide. It's Dynamic Iridology Assessment System now. When you're a solopreneur, something slipped through the cracks, but not my students, just saying. This is the only live, online, fully mentored course for nutritionists, herbalists, and naturopaths who want to streamline their clinical work without sacrificing client care. I find too many holistic practitioners will see a client, they'll gather information, then they go off on their own time and on their own dime and spend 2 or 3 or 4 hours creating a program to bring back to the client later on. And the practitioners aren't getting paid for that client creation time. And so with this, with learning iridology, you learn how to create programs that do not overwhelm your clients, that you can actually create the program when your client is sitting with you so that you're getting paid for every hour. Now, people say you're heart-centered, the money shouldn't matter. Yeah, except that my bank doesn't take my heart-centeredness from my mortgage payment. The utility company doesn't take my heart-centered business for a utility payment. Neither does my insurance company, neither does my dentist or my doctor, my chiropractor or my massage therapist. So we have to earn money. We have to earn money, and we need to be being paid for each hour that we work. And so we need to get our client work done when we're with the client, and creating that deep rapport, that deep trust creates client compliance. It creates long-term retention. I have many clients who have been with me for 4 decades. I have many clients that started with me 4 decades ago. I saw them through their pregnancies, and now I'm working with their grandbabies. We're working with 3 generations of the family now because of that rapport. The next go around of this course is starting on August 11th. The classes will run once a week from 4 till 6:15 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, and registration is open. If you are wondering if this course would be a good fit for you, if you are a health professional, or if you have at least one college level anatomy and physiology course, then I invite you to give me a call. Use this link here, tinyurl.com/insight-call, and let's schedule a call to see if this course is the right fit for you. The course is 20 weeks long. It contains all of the curriculum you need to prepare to certify with the International Iridology Practitioners Association. It also includes all of the mentoring you need to prepare for certification. Certification isn't just take a class and get certified. There is a process, but my course includes all of the mentoring, right? It includes so many things. We're not going to go through a full list here, but it's seriously, if you have an anatomy and physiology course under your belt, or you're a health professional and you've got that foundation in A&P, let's book a call. If you don't have A&P, there are a lot of teachers who'll take you on. There are. and you will learn surface level iridology, but you won't learn it at a deep level. And so if you don't have A&P, send me a message. I will send you a link to an anatomy class that the International Iridology Practitioners Association has said meets the requirements for what you need to know, get you through that course, and then come back to me to come into my iridology course. How does that sound? How does that sound? All right. Sarah says, fantastic. I love it, Sarah. Fabulous. So I'm inviting those of you who have the prerequisite, use this tinyurl.com/insight-call, schedule a call with me. One other thing you need to know, I only take 10 students per class. I need the link to take the course first. So the link to take the A&P course, I'm assuming, Leah, correct? And so let me, I will make a note that that is what you need. I better make that not on a congested piece of paper so that I don't lose the note. Leah Fisher needs the A&P link. Okay, excellent. I will make sure you get that link. And with the A&P, if you can spend 2 hours per day on it, you can get the A&P done in about 2 months. Sarah says, when would the next cohort take place, or is it once a year? I actually like to try to start a course every 2 months. But again, what we do is we take a wait list. So if you know you want to be in the October cohort, you can put a down payment of $200 down, and that will save your spot for the October cohort. Right, and that gives you time then if you need to get A&P done, and Rena, if you need to get your A&P done, then you can get your A&P done, and it gives you a deadline to get your A&P finished by, to come into the iridology program. Amazing. Any other questions? I want to thank you all for your fabulous, fabulous interactions today. That was so fun. You got a lot more out of me than some groups do. And so watch for the replay link tomorrow. For those of you who've been with me today, watch your inbox. If you've been with me on Facebook, no, I'm sorry, on the webinar, you will get the replay link. And I will actually tuck the A&P link in with the replay link. So watch the email. It'll have 2 links in it, one for A&P and one for the replay. And actually, I might even put a book a call link in that one. Excellent. Okay, have a fabulous day. Thank you for being with me. I look forward to speaking with you really soon. Bye for now.